I need to unmute. So there you go. Sound test.
Unmuting would work. Sound test.
How are you doing this morning, April?
I am great. How is everyone? I believe
Okay.
it is a Monday.
And I did this like first try. That's pretty awesome. I'm
So
very proud of
exciting.
myself for that one.
Should I have my headphones in or are we good?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
We don't need to hear anybody.
Awesome. Well, good morning. Welcome to AVA. Who are we? Welcome to AVA Business Leaders News.
Yeah.
What a way to start our Monday, start our week with all kinds of fun information that we get to chat about today.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's fun, but it's
I'm
something.
gonna, it's fun that we're able to all be here together.
Yeah.
It's fun that we're connecting, and this opens up channels for collaborating and all of those good things that we like to see.
And I'm just gonna put in the main story. Is this it? Oh, this is
Yeah, so Steven's gonna share the story, the link to the stories
Yep.
in the comments.
All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and share a screen. Let's see if this works.
All right, drum roll. We need a drum roll. Ta-da!
I think it's working.
Yay! Well, seriously, I hope everyone is off to a good start this morning. I think with us being in Atlantic time, we pretty much we get the head start to the day.
Yep.
So we've already had our coffee. So I hope you have your coffee and ready to go. All right.
So we're in a bunch of different places today. We're in 3 different Facebook groups, LinkedIn and YouTube. So there's no excuse. You can watch us anywhere now. And then we're also on our my profile, a Facebook profile, um, and our 3 Pi Squared page. So we're gonna try our best to monitor the chats and comments, and we'll get to them as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear your thoughts and your questions and your comments. All right, let's go. Let's get this started. I can't wait. As those of you who have tuned into the news before will know that Stephen prepares all of these news articles, and then they're a surprise to me. I get to hear them for the first time, just as you are, and we get to to chat about it together. Because if not, you know what would happen? Stephen and I would chat about these things in life, and then we would have nothing to say here for you guys. So we save it. We save it for the news. All right. Our first article.
I don't remember what order I put these in. So.
Okay. All right, HIPAA. I mean, what a way to start a Monday morning talking about HIPAA. Like, right? So HIPAA breaches aren't just a big company problem. What ABA businesses need to learn from the Well Now settlement. So the story, a major HIPAA breach at Well Now Urgent Care exposed the data of tens of thousands after a ransomware attack on a billing vendor. The incident resulted in a significant legal settlement and highlights how everyday oversights, like missing BAAs or inadequate vendor checks, can create major risk. Even small ABA practices using outside vendors or digital records face similar threats. The Well Now case is a reminder that strong HIPAA compliance isn't just for big companies. It's vital for every ABA business. All right, so my first thought is I'm wondering how many of you listening are like, well, we've got HIPAA covered. Like, we got everyone to sign the privacy practices documentation. That's good, right?
I mean, I'll give you a E for effort. No, like this, like what I believe from the articles that I read, what they got them on really was the lack of BAAs or not updated BAAs. So this is a business associate agreement. Anyone that touches your PHI, so
Personal health information, or protected
protected
health
health
information.
information, yeah, or EPHI, which is electronic protected health information. You have to have a BAA in place with them, and so this is just something that you have to have. Like if the company that you're working with changes their name, you need a new BAA in place. Some of them expire, so you need to have updated ones. So this is just something important to have. This is like there aren't many things that are like you have to do this in HIPAA, and that's just one of them. So this one is just really important to have. And then, from what I understand, they didn't have an updated BAA or they didn't have a BAA in place, and then their vendor got some ransomware on their device, and there was a breach. So it's just like
Mm,
so this can happen to anyone, right? Especially if you're relying on billers, you're relying on practice management software, you're relying right. Like we rely heavily on outside vendors to keep our data safe. They all have those nice, really cool badges saying HIPAA compliant, right?
right.
And we just say, okay, well, they say they're HIPAA compliant, so let's move on with our lives, right?
Right.
So there is some, you have to be prepared and understand what's going on. And so this is really, it's on you as the provider to make sure that you keep these up to date. So it's just another thing that you're going to need to add to your to-do list.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I missed the key points because I jumped right
Yep.
into it, but I will review those, especially for those who are listening, because and not
Yep.
who did not catch it real time live, because we also air this as a podcast every Tuesday. So
Mm-hmm.
if you missed this or you want to listen to it again,
Mm.
then Tuesday's your day. So key points here: even routine vendor relationships can lead to HIPAA risk if BAAs and security aren't up to date. And Stephen just really covered that. Ransomware and phishing attacks are common and can impact any size ABA practice. I wonder how much of the it won't happen to us mentality is out there that we all have, right? It was like, oh yeah, that's the thing, but I'll worry about that later. Legal settlements, reputational harm, and compliance costs can be business ending. I mean, I think a lot of us, if yes, we want our reputation to stay intact, we want to be compliant, and all of that. But like the money part can be really scary, right? How much finance, like how much we have to pay out for those costs. ABA specific HIPAA policy manuals and real world staff training are critical safeguards. So, guys, if you know me at all, you know that am a huge supporter of training your staff. And HIPAA might be one of those things that we feel like we need to rush through, or, because we got to get all this other training done before we get our, clinicians and techs out there and to work with our learners. But we really have to educate thoroughly on what HIPAA means for all members of our staff. Let's see. Proactive audits and expert consultation can prevent costly mistakes. That's another thing. Put it in your systems, right? Your HIPAA training, put it in your calendar, make a spreadsheet, put it in your software, that to make sure that everyone's staying up to date on these things. And also that you're, as part of those internal audits, checking to make sure that everyone's doing what they need to do. Recommendations for providers. I feel like we kind of hit on all of these, but I will run through them so that you can hear them in an organized list. Regularly audit all vendors for current BAAs and security practices. Upgrade to an ABA specific HIPAA policy manual and provide ongoing training. Stay updated on cyber threats and prevention strategies. That feels so surreal to me, but it's a real thing. Book a consult with an experienced HIPAA advisor to review our systems. review your systems. Sorry about that. Foster a culture where staff feel responsible for privacy and security at all levels. And the purpose of this isn't like not for salesy, but I will say that we have just partnered with a HIPAA advisor who
Yeah, he's awesome.
we've like tried we're building a relationship with him behind the scenes because it's hard to find someone trustworthy in this space. And yeah, and so we've really been building a relationship with this professional behind the scenes, and working on some projects together beforehand so that hopefully when we introduce him to you guys, like we will feel really confident
Yeah,
about that.
he's
And
working
so
with a couple of our customers right now, and the feedback has been good.
yeah,
So
so reach out
yeah,
to us if you want more information about that, but you'll be hearing from this new person shortly. We'll have him on.
and
All
we do
right.
one other thing. We do have a
Uh-huh.
10% discount with him. So
We have it too. Yeah. So yeah, so just reach out to us and we can get that. And then we do, guys, we do have and here's where we're like we feel like we're like, oh, we want to get this information to everyone, we want to have these conversations, we want to help spread the awareness of things that are you need and things that are important. And we do have a lot of these resources. We have the handbooks and the policies and the procedures and the consulting and all of these things to help you guys. But that's not our main focus here. But I do feel like sometimes I talk to people and they don't realize, oh, you guys can like provide a HIPAA handbook, like, yeah, we do that too.
yeah,
So if you're, hearing this and you're feeling a little nervous and worried and okay, well, I need to worry, I need to like do something about this, but I'm feeling overwhelmed, just reach out to us and we can help get you going.
absolutely. All right, next story.
Next story. Navigating the 2025 ABA M&A search. What ethical practice owners need to know. Mergers and acquisitions in the ABA field are surging into 2025, driven by investor interest in private equity. This brings new opportunities for ABA practice owners, but also higher expectations around compliance, documentation, and clinical quality. Accreditation is becoming a must have for owners who want to sell or merge, while practices that cut corners risk losing out or facing regulatory scrutiny. The current environment rewards clinics that prioritize ethical growth, strong systems, and readiness for due diligence. All right, so the key points. M&A activity is rapidly increasing in the ABA space with strong interest in compliant, scalable practices. Do you want to say more about
Yeah, I
that?
mean, it just, last we did one of these topics. I don't know, it was a month ago maybe when we first, or one of our first news articles. And 2024 was a big year. It seemed like 2025 was also going to be, and it turns out that it absolutely is. The issues that you're going to run into is if you're like, oh, dude, I'm ready to sell, right? If your books aren't in order, right? If you're doing 80, 90 hours a week, and if you leave, the company's not going to run. This is not probably going to get a ton of money or even a buyer. So it's just really important that you have these things in place. And well, like I said, you're ready for due diligence, right? You have the systems in place. The company can run without you. A lot of BCBAs wanting to sell don't understand that part of this sale might be that they have to stay on, or what happens if they don't want to stay on. Are we going to lose 20% of our hours because we need to hire another BCBA? Or in the case of a 80, if somebody working 80 hours, do we have to hire two people to maintain that level of care? And if that's the case, again, this isn't like a $20,000 salary where we're probably going to be adding 110,000 salaries here. So is this company even profitable anymore at this point? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So accreditation, Stephen's concerned. We have who our podcast puppy is here and present today as always,
Mm-hmm.
and she's hearing some activity outside, and she is woken from her nap, and she is starting to bark a little. So you know what? If you hear barking, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Accreditation, HIPAA compliance, and robust documentation now set the baseline for attractive deals. Yeah, I mean, Steven's been saying accreditation is coming,
Yeah.
right? And I can understand knowing what we know while why that could be attractive. Ethical practice owners must align their values, systems, and teams to stand out in the marketplace. Not like, yeah, but not just for that reason. Selling or merging requires proactive planning. Waiting until an offer appears is too late. I think this is something that we talk about for every step of the game before you even get started or when you're thinking about getting started, all the way to knowing your plan for your exit strategy, right? This is a position that you're in if you're a business owner that you need to have proactive planning for many reasons. The right systems increase practice value, streamline audits, and support client care even during transitions. And guys, this is I think the biggest piece of this is quality, like providing quality care, quality, you know, support for our learners that we're providing services for and for our staff, you know? Anything else you want to say about that? I
No, I think
feel like
it.
we've covered
Yeah,
most
I
of
think
it.
it's just, you do good work. You provide ethical services, and things will kind of work out on their own.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot to this, but if you want to, if this is part of your retirement plan, is this company that you are eventually going to sell? Maybe it isn't, but maybe it is. Then you need to make sure that your books are in place, that systems are set up. Again, this company is going to run without you there, and it's still gonna run not as a train wreck. It's gonna run the same way that you would if you were there. So that's just
Right. So, what can you do? You can begin the accreditation process early,
yeah.
even if a sale isn't planned immediately. Review all payer contracts, policies, and compliance documentation for gaps. I don't think I've had enough coffee yet this morning. And that might feel really overwhelming and too much, but just start scheduling in little blocks of time in your calendar to work on a piece of this at a time, because if you get going a little bit at a time, you're going to get farther than if you wait until the perfect
Yeah.
timing to get it all done, right? Invest in leadership training and transparent financials to build trust with potential partners. Seek professional advice on M&A readiness, evaluation, and negotiation, and focus on sustainable ethical systems that support long-term value for clients and staff. And that last one, I think, really sit with that for a minute, because that's where it's all at, whether you are going to sit with this company for your entire life or you're going to think about selling.
Yeah, and man, I'm sure it'll come back to me.
Oh, did you have a thought and it left? Oh, it's one of those
But like
days.
even the accreditation process, like just go. There are two. I think we all know them, right? But Jade Health, I think, is the website, and the ACQ, and I believe both of them still offer their accreditation requirements for free. So you just have to get on their email list, and then you should be able to download those those requirements, and then just start. Just you, maybe accreditation isn't for you right now. It doesn't mean just very similar to the Optum audit. Man, maybe I'm not going to go in network with Optum. Use their tools, right? This is something that most funders require, even if they don't audit you before going in network. So take the opportunity and use that tool. And even on our website, right? You don't want to buy our handbooks? Totally fine. Go to more details on all of them, and you'll see an entire list of the things that are in them. and that's your starting point, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
all right,
All right. So this is our third and last one for today.
this is our last one.
All right. Turning the tide. How ABA leaders can rebuild trust in special education. Hmm. Families and ABA professionals frequently encounter barriers when trying to collaborate with schools. Inspired by stories like Minnesota advocate Dawn Ganges, this article highlights how ABA leaders can repair trust and build meaningful partnerships in special education. By prioritizing intentional communication, transparent practices, and trauma informed care, ABA businesses can shift from adversaries to allies, improving outcomes for students, families, and schools alike. I really, really like that you've included this because being able to communicate and collaborate with schools is essential, and sometimes it can be difficult, right? Some key points: families often feel caught between ABA, schools, and confusing special education systems. I've seen that firsthand with parents, and if there are any parents listening here today, I would love your feedback. Uh, I I can imagine. I'm not going to say I know what it feels like because I don't, but I can imagine the overwhelm, the frustration, the confusion that could come for you as a parent, right? As a guardian. Trust is rebuilt through collaboration, not competition with school teams. I know that where we were, and where we had our clinic for years, when we first started, I could walk into any school fully invited, fully welcomed. But over the years, it really started to shift.
Right.
And unfortunately, it was because of certain individuals who had come in and maybe not in a kind, compassionate, collaborating way, but more of telling the school how to do their job, or this is how we do it.
Right.
You must also do it. And I feel like we need to have open conversations, hear all parts of the story, collaborate and have like real direct conversation because it's the benefit of the learner. And if you feel strongly with something, so does the other person, right?
Right.
And so it's really working through that together. And that can be a complicated, that's a skill set. That's
Yeah.
especially like a lot of us, I want to say a lot of us who are new to the field, are younger, may not have that skill set yet. And it takes years to form, to develop in a lot of times, right? To be able to learn how to be direct in your communication, still be kind. Staff need specific training to work effectively within IEP and education law frameworks. There we go. Training. Imagine that. Supporting families through school challenges requires humility and clear boundaries. I think that's kind of what I was saying a few minutes ago.
And I think like even if you think that you're absolutely 100% right,
Right.
like I think you have to come at this, you gotta kind of circle around it, right? Where you get the buy-in, just like with families, right? You get that buy-in, you earn that trust, and because like you said, a lot of providers come in and they're like, no, we have to do it this way. Who wants to work with someone where they're not accepting feedback or input or empathy or compassion for working with like what 20, 30 kids? um,
Yeah, and I think it's important too, like to know the why, like to
right.
really focus on the why and why are we here? Why am I doing this? And if you feel really, really strong and passionate about like being right about a certain thing and you feel like the other people are completely wrong,
Hmm.
like also practice that pause that we've talked about of okay, let's pause for a second and let's take a step back and ask myself why. Why is this so why is this so like strong, right? This
Right.
feeling strong, and explore that and kind of sit with that and pause for a minute. I don't know. Do you agree with that? Do you
Yeah,
feel
no,
like that's
I agree. Yeah.
because it's hard. It's really hard, especially some of these big IEP meetings and a lot of people in one room, especially those annual ones that tend to pop up at the end of the school year. Everybody's done.
Yep.
They can be really hard. So leading with ethics and intention, and really like this is where you can like get firm in your boundaries. Just like really let your boundaries hold. I mean, not your boundaries, your values, well, boundaries too, but let your values like really carry you through, right? So, recommendations offer onboarding and ongoing training focused on IEP collaboration and school partnerships. I think this is so important. And I know, like, when we look at insurance,
Hmm.
there's a lot of this that we cannot bill. It's not billable.
Right.
But does that mean that we shouldn't do it?
Right.
Right? So, obviously, you know, planning to how can we offer the support? How can we set the whole team up for success, including parents and guardians? How can we do this? Use clear scripts and processes to help families navigate school systems without overstepping. Build relationships with local educators and advocate for student centered planning. Model transparency and trauma informed care in every family and school interaction. Seek feedback from families and schools to continuously improve partnership efforts. I'm very excited to read this article, especially because I would love to hear more about what the article has to say.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there are some case studies involved in this as well,
There is
perhaps?
not. This is
No?
just like someone working in the special education in Minnesota. Like it wasn't like a warm and fluffy ABA, that's for sure, right?
Right.
It was like, somebody, there has to be someone kind of leading this, right? Between
Mm.
ABA, speech, the school system. How do you navigate that, right? So I think, like I said, this is an opportunity for ABA companies to try and help parents navigate this confusing and overwhelming system. And really, if you don't understand how that works, it's going to be very difficult to help your families navigate those, right? Especially, maybe you do work with a lot of 2 year olds, 3 year olds, but as they're, moving on to, hopefully getting in
School
school,
age, yeah.
this is where we need that support. At least start educating your parents about their rights. What is this going to look like so that they can at least prepare for that in advance, right? Getting those systems in place, getting those reasons and the justification for needing additional support in place ahead of time so that we don't lose very valuable time. And like if the child is in the wrong setting in school, this doesn't help. Like it's going to be very harmful for that child. It's going to be traumatizing and it's going to be difficult for the family, right? This is going to add a lot of stress. Child not wanting to go to school, like I can just think about with our own child, right?
Mhm.
Just having that. So, yeah, I think that just educating the parents on how this is going to work, what it's going to look like, what you can push back on and what you can't, right? Things like that. I think it would be very helpful.
No, that does sound like it would be extremely helpful because yeah, if we assume, there you go, we're assuming again, um, yeah, not having a leader, that yeah, um, thank you for bringing this information and starting this
Yep.
conversation. I think it's very important.
So yeah, so all of the stories again are at news.3pisquared.com and you can check them out. There's also sources at the bottom so you can, don't take our word for it. And also if you do decide, okay, this accreditation thing, yeah, maybe I should do it. Check out that one that we did mergers and acquisitions on. You can listen or watch the podcast we did with ACQ. I think it would be worthwhile listening to that. A lot of I feel a lot of helpful tips if you are going to go that route. Just to get an idea of what is this going to look like as I go through this. Yeah, again, if this is part of your retirement plan, right? Um, which for a lot of you, I assume it is. You want to not, you want to start planning this out, even if it's in slow little steps. of how I'm going to get there, because it's not. We don't want to do this in the last 6 months. Okay, I'm done now. I got to put all this together. The things that I haven't done for the last 10 years, I'm gonna now put them together in 6 months. We don't really want to do that. We want to be building this scalable, sustainable, ethical, high quality, and that is also the business side of it. Needs to be done in the same way that you would do the clinical side.
Absolutely. And if you currently work in schools or have a liaison position or have really great resources that either you're aware of or that you use within your own company, I would love to hear more about it.
Mhm.
Reach out to me. We'd love to have you on the podcast or do a training or, just get that conversation going on how we can better support our families and community and schools in a collaborative and connecting way. That would be amazing.
All right, that's it. That's all I
That's all we
got.
got today. Well, not all we got. That was 3 great articles. But thank you so much for listening, for taking time to show up on a Monday morning or listening on a Tuesday. So have a great week, everyone.
See ya.